And I want to bring it back to Mark. I love what you said about a car optional city, building a car optional city. And I think all of you have brought up this idea of reducing car dependence in terms of improving our sustainability in general. Mark, I want to ask you a question that I have been struggling with as well, which is how do we incentivize or encourage or require people to use mass transit in terms of sustainability when cars are so convenient and potentially more enjoyable, although like you, I share the joy of watching all the different people on the subway.
Right.
How do we get people to use mass transit as in major cities and in smaller cities as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to invest in it, right? So like this is something in which it really does come down to recognizing and prioritizing that from a budget perspective to make sure that we're investing in mass transit, we're making it something that is extremely attractive and also efficient and effective for people to be able to choose that above other options. I mean, I think that we recognize that cities that don't have a significant mass transit infrastructure, there's a large hurdle, a large capital investment that requires it, but it's worth it, and it's something that has to be part of our future going forward. I think when we think about what we want out of cities, and if we want these cities that are inclusive, we want these cities that are designed to make all residents of those cities thrive, then we have to invest in the things that underpin their ability to do so. And transportation is a huge component of that. As we think about the notion of welcoming people back to cities when we are traveling again. I mean, keep in mind in New York City, we have upwards of 60 million tourists that come in every year. That's $40 billion worth of money that's coming into the economy in New York City. But right now, a lot of those parts of the economy are struggling. You have family-owned businesses and restaurants that are struggling to keep their doors open or to reopen. Broadway is still dark. There are a lot of things that drive people's need to move around and desire to move around that are going to have a difficult time getting back up and running. And so I think that, somewhat to Ashley's point too, people are going to have to start investing their money in line with their values. They're going to have to be able to say that we want to support the kind of the small local, like women and minority owned businesses. We have to invest and put our money where we have hotels that are no longer using kind of these micro bottles for every single convenience. The convenience has consequences. And so I think when we start to think a little bit more intentionally, and I think this pause has given us a chance to do that, then we have an opportunity to choose something different and to choose a way forward that is a little bit more intentional. And I'll say about making it more attractive within your city. Of course, you invest in public transit, you invest in safe kind of bike infrastructure. And then you say everything else really should be shared and electrified. So that's the goal, right? Is that I don't say that people should never use a car for anything, but do we have to occupy and have all of our streets, basically bent around storage of those vehicles for the majority of the time? And does it have to also include ownership? Or can we have something in which we are moving much more towards a shared model for those necessary trips? Those are the types of things that we as a municipality can help build the infrastructure for, so that we kind of take that burden of ownership away from a lot of residents and provide them something that is better, more effective, more efficient. And the last thing I'll say is that, back to the point of investing in a social infrastructure, part of the reason that some people are compelled to own a car or to drive long distances is to go to work, because that's where the work is, all right? And we have to be able to invest in our neighborhoods in a way that allows for people to have what they need within a 15-minute, whether it's a walk or bike ride from the places in which they live. That means, investing in schools. It also means, kind of investing the resources in the components that allow for people to work close to where they live. So I think we have to tackle these things simultaneously. And for New York City, that's why it's been so critical for us to make social equity a huge underpinning of all decisions, whether it's transportation or otherwise. That's how we get to the future that we're designing.